there on Indiana, on hold there, but then that is a technical. It's a little surprising to see so many of these happen in one.
Was it revenge or just better basketball? Everybody saw the clip. Lexie Hull puts Kayla McBride on skates. The crowd explodes and the internet labels it karma in real time. But here's the deeper story nobody's telling out loud. That crossover wasn't an accident.
That is a technical. Dead ball, contact technical.
One game because...
Oh, and I don't like the way Lexie Hull...
It was a message, and the message wasn't "we hate you." It was "we remember, we work, and we answer the right way." The first spark wasn't a handle. It was an elbow, a hard one. The kind that makes the whole arena freeze for a beat because no one's sure if the player on the floor is about to stand up or stay down.
One of the things that I've been impressed with these guys since even the offseason is how hard they work.
When that happened to Lexie, something snapped into focus for Indiana. Not rage, not chaos. Something older. Something every veteran knows. You don't change a reputation with tweets. You change it with poise, with footwork, and with the scoreboard. So the Fever filed it away. They didn't forget. They didn't whine. They waited for the next possession, the next game, and the right moment. That's where this story starts to feel different. Because while fans focused on the clip, the Fever were busy surviving a season that should have folded them in half. Star after star disappeared from the lineup. Roles shifted by the week. Chemistry had to be built on the fly. And yet, every time the roster thinned, the identity thickened, the gym stayed loud, the habits got tighter. The women still in uniform didn't ask for sympathy. They asked for the ball. Kelsey Mitchell took that ask personally. Night after night, she played like a player who'd seen every defensive scheme already and didn't care. Traps? Split them. Face guarding? Back cut. Ice the screen? Snake it. It wasn't just points. It was leadership in motion. When the team looked wobbly, she didn't raise her voice. She raised the tempo. It's amazing what happens to a huddle when your best guard is fearless and efficient at the same time. No panic, just possession. 1, possession 2, possession 3, stacked until the run is yours. Aaliyah Boston handled the other half. Not all leadership wears a cape. Some leadership just boxes out again and again until the other team gets tired of losing the ball by an inch. Boston's game is an old-school sermon. Deep seal, 2 hands on the board. Put back, no posing. When your anchor is steady, guards relax. Coaches breathe. Fans feel it through the screen, even if they can't diagram why. Basketball loves a star, but it respects reliability. That's the part that got lost in the chaos of the elbow. People forgot that Indiana wasn't running on luck. They were running on standards. Fight for position. Share the touch. Trust the next woman up. It sounds simple until the whistle goes the other way and your cheeks still sting. That's when philosophy becomes a choice. You either go hunting for a cheap shot, or you go hunting for an advantage. Indiana chose the second one. That choice is why the payoff hit different, because the rematch wasn't just a game, it was a stress test. Did they really learn anything from the first mess? Could Lexie step back onto the floor with the same opponent, the same energy, and keep the main thing the main thing? The answer came in a single rhythm change, one dribble, a hesitation. Weight shifting like a secret. Kayla lunged for a beat because elite defenders gamble. Lexie sold the story and then rewrote it at the last second. That's not dirty, that's discipline. And discipline is louder than any shove. Freeze that moment in your mind. The exact second McBride's balance leaks. The exact sound the crowd makes when it realizes the clip is about to live on every timeline by dinner. It feels like revenge because it's satisfying, but it's really restoration. The first incident took something. The second gave it back with interest. No tech, no shove, just a bucket and a roar. Now let's talk about the person every Fever fan mentioned the night the elbow landed, Sophie Cunningham. If you've watched her for 5 minutes, you already know the type. She's built from the same wood as the old heads who believe you protect your own without losing your mind. There's a reason fans yelled Sophie would have handled that. It wasn't about violence. It was about spine. About the player who says, "Stand behind me, we're good." How would Sophie react to Lexie's moment? Here's the truth. She'd smile first. The small kind, the kind you miss if you blink. The kind that says, "That's how you answer." Then she'd talk about craft, not payback. She'd point at the hours no one saw. She'd give respect to Kayla because real competitors don't confuse rivalry with hate. And she'd remind everyone that the best kind of checkmate is the kind that shows up on the scoreboard and the film, not on a ref report. And if Sophie took a microphone for a minute, she'd get even simpler. Not dirty, just better. 4 words, that's it. Because a clean move that embarrasses you is still clean. Because a tough screen that rattles you is still legal. Because toughness isn't measured by how loud you bark. It's measured by how fast you get your team organized for the next possession. The way Sophie sees the game, the bigger win wasn't the stumble. It was the composure. Eyes up, pocket dribble, finish through contact, jog back, job done. That's the part that separates this from a petty feud. Indiana didn't throw a parade. They threw a punch with their play. They held the lead. They smothered runs. They made shooters think twice. When the Lynx tried to heat up, Indiana didn't answer with hero ball. They answered with spacing and trust, swung the extra pass, cut behind the watchful eye, took the clean three without flinching. A team becomes a problem the minute it stops caring who gets the headline and starts caring who gets the stop. You felt it in the bench minutes too. Those shifts where your depth either wins you a game or hands it back by mistake. The women who didn't expect big roles at the start of the year were suddenly playing like they were born for it. Hard dribble to the nail, pull up in rhythm. Strong side stunt, peel switch, deflection out of bounds. The small stuff that makes a coach nod and fans start telling their friends this group might be real. They didn't just survive the storm, they learned to steer in it. And through all of this, even when the lineup board looked like a math problem, there was a voice on the sideline that mattered more than most people realize. Call it a rookie, call it a rising face. Labels don't matter. Leadership sounds the same in a hoodie. Point, clap, whisper the coverage, laugh with a ref to keep the temperature down, then call your teammate's name mid-play to keep her calm. Cameras will always chase buckets, but real ones know a steady sideline can tilt a fourth quarter without logging a minute. So where does that leave the elbow? It leaves it in the past, not forgotten, filed. You don't let it rewrite who you are. You let it sharpen what you do. Indiana figured that out at the perfect time of year. There's a reason the last week of the regular season always reveals the truth. Some teams bend, some teams bark, a few get better. The Fever chose door number 3, and you could see it in the first 10 possessions of the rematch. Quick, clean, connected. That's how you let a story write itself. Here's the tension nobody wants to admit. Kayla McBride is a baller. Respect that. She's the kind of vet who can drop 20 on you and wink about it later. That's why the clip hits so hard. Because she is great. Because humiliating a great player with a legal move has a flavor you can't buy. You don't need to hate her to enjoy it. You just need to love skill more than drama. That's the grown-up view. That's the old school view. That's the view you hear from coaches after midnight when the lights are off and the film is still running. What about the people who still want blood? Who say no, they should have answered with a hard foul the first chance they got? They're not entirely wrong about emotion. They're just wrong about timing. There's a time to be sharp, and there's a time to be smart. The Fever chose smart, and it bought them something emotion never does. Calm. Calm wins runs. Calm makes free throws. Calm turns oh no into of course. The elbow had heat for a night. The crossover has film value forever. Let's step back for a second and talk about identity. Teams change faces, seasons throw curveballs, but identity is built when no one's clapping. It's built on the practice court when your legs don't want another cut drill and your coach is still asking for 3. It's built in the training room when the brace tightens and you still find a way to lift. It's built in the locker room when the young ones look around and ask silently, "Are we okay?" And the vets answer without speaking by lacing their shoes tighter. Indiana's identity grew up this year. The crossover was just the first time the rest of the world noticed. And here's the beautiful contradiction. The clip everyone loved wasn't about flash. It was about restraint. Anyone can be loud after a slight. Not everyone can be patient. Not everyone can hold their water, stay within the lines, and wait for the possession that flips the room. Lexie did that. She carried what happened without letting it carry her. That's what turned one elbow into a lesson and one hesitation dribble into a legacy. Would Sophie ever say it was revenge? Probably not. She'd hunt a different word. She'd say response, or standard, or maybe just basketball. Then she'd put her hand on a shoulder and move on. Because you don't live in a highlight. You live in the next screen, the next tag, the next rotation at full speed. She knows that. The team knows that. And deep down, every serious fan knows it too. The clip is the candy, the discipline is the meal. Let's not lie, there's joy here. There's something sweet about seeing your teammate who took a shot get the last laugh. Sports are theater, and theater needs moments. This one delivered. It gave fans a banner to wave. It gave the locker room a wink to share. It gave the rest of the league a reminder that Indiana might arrive a little early to the party and flip a table or two on the way in. That's good for the game. Rivalries need sparks. Viewers need stakes. The league needs more nights where your thumbs start tapping before the buzzer. But don't confuse the headline for the heart. The heart is in how calm the feet were, in how clear the decision tree looked, in how a guard kept her dribble, sold a story, and ended one, in how a team that got pushed kept its hands clean and made the scoreboard do the talking. That's the kind of DNA that travels. That's the kind of DNA you can ride when the matchups get tight and the air gets thin. If you were in that building, you felt it. The emotional temperature flip. Before the move, fans were tense. After it, they were certain. They knew, win or lose, they were watching a group that had stopped apologizing and started asserting. That matters more than a clip. It changes how you close quarters. It changes how you withstand whistles you don't like. It changes how your depth believes it belongs. Confidence is a living thing. It needs proof. That crossover was proof. There's another layer here. The standard you set with moments like this changes how opponents approach you next time. They'll switch different. They'll send help with a half step more caution. They'll test your chin, yes, but they'll test your patience first because now they're not sure. And when a team makes the other team think, it has already won half the battle. Thinking slows feet. Thinking blurs timing. Thinking turns a good shot into a rushed one. Indiana earned the right to be in other teams' heads for a minute. So what should fans do with all this? Keep your edge, but keep your perspective. Respect great opponents. Celebrate clean answers. Cheer for the work more than the smoke. There's a place for spice. There's also a time to nod and say, fair play. The league is better when rivalries are fierce and fair. Let this be the template. Don't ask for chaos. Ask for craft. Ask for 5 possessions in a row where your team plays like it trusts itself. That's how you turn a clip into a culture. And if you loved this because you love Lexie, then give her credit for the piece no one sees, composure. It's easy to be tough when you're ahead by 20. It's harder when your name is in everyone's mouth and not for a reason you chose. She took back the narrative without saying a word. That's a masterclass. Young hoopers, watch that. Not the stumble, the setup, the pace, the shoulder angle, the eyes. That's how you answer anything, from an elbow to a run, without leaving the rulebook. We should say it again for the cheap seats. Kayla McBride is a problem. This league is full of them. That's the point. Steel sharpens steel. If you embarrassed a great player cleanly, it means you reached a higher floor for a second. The work now is to live there more often. The Fever have the bones for it. You can see the outline. Guard play with backbone. A center who eats space for breakfast. Wings who don't blink. A bench that believes minutes are earned, not gifted. Mix in a sideline voice that settles storms, and you've got something that travels into May and June. Close your eyes and jump forward. Playoffs. Game 3. Road crowd. Whistles tight. Shots flat. What wins a game like that? Not a dunk, not a clip. Poise wins it. Rebounds win it. Smart fouls win it. A 2-for-1 squeezed out of a messy stretch wins it. Teams who have already survived worse tend to survive again. Indiana learned how to breathe underwater for weeks. That matters when the waves pick up. So call it revenge if you want. The internet will. We get it. It sells. It trends. But the people inside the lines know better. They know what it really was. A disciplined response. A memory turned into footwork. A sting turned into spacing. A team keeping faith with itself when it would have been easier to lose its head. That's not just good basketball. That's a good blueprint. One last word on Sophie. Because voices like hers give teams a spine that lasts beyond a season. You could feel her shadow on the whole thing. The standard she carries doesn't need a jersey to be present. Protect your teammate. Respect the game. Keep it legal. Be mean inside the lines and gracious outside them. Cheer for your rival's health. Crush their rhythm. That's the way the old guard did it. That's the way the best teams still do. If Sophie were at the presser after the rematch, you can almost hear it. Short sentences. No victory lap. Proud of Lexie. Respect to Kayla. That's basketball. We're on to the next. Then she'd point to the film room, then to the practice plan, then to the date circled on the calendar. The game doesn't slow down for anyone. Neither does a group that means it. So here's the takeaway you'll remember when the clip stops looping. The Fever didn't just get even. They got better. They traded outrage for execution. They chose the long win over the loud one. And that's why, when you press pause on the crossover and read the faces in the background, players, coaches, fans, you don't just see joy, you see belief. The kind that survives the next storm and the one after that. Drop a respect Lexie in the comments if you felt that. Drop a play clean if you're old school and proud of it. And if you're here because you love this game the way it used to be played, hard, fair, and decided by skill, stick around. Because if this group keeps its standard, that moment won't be the peak. It will be the blueprint. That's the story. Not the elbow, not the stumble, the standard. And the standard is this. Protect your own. Keep your cool. Let the work speak. Clip saved. Lesson learned. Next one up. The move itself deserves a closer look, because moments like that don't happen by accident. It starts before the dribble. Feet set, eyes up, shoulders quiet. Sell patience first. The defender relaxes a hair because patience reads like passivity. Then you whisper speed. Not a sprint, just a nudge. A glance like you're about to use the screen. A half step suggesting help is coming, and then the opposite. Change of pace is the oldest trick in basketball and still the most honest. Lexie trusted it. She didn't need a million moves. She needed one read, one shift, one beat ahead of the defender's heartbeat. The floor opened. Gravity flipped. And for a breath, you could feel the whole arena inhale. People watched the stumble. Hoop heads watched the setup. The touch on the ball, light, never panicked. The shoulders square until the last instant. The hips low enough to threaten both directions. That's why the gamble came, because elite defenders are taught to take away something, Remove the right hand, sit on the pull-up, jam the screen. But when a guard keeps both options alive until the defender commits, you turn defense into a quiz with no correct answer. Lexie answered the only question that mattered. Can you keep your dribble when the room gets loud? She could. That's the difference between a clip and a claim. There's also the part you can't measure, timing. Not game clock timing, emotional timing. Pick your spot after a stop. Pick it when your team needs a jolt, not a circus. That's why her bench erupted like that. They knew she didn't hunt it in garbage time. She took it when the weight of the game could still tilt. That's leadership from a wing. It says, I'll carry a possession without hijacking the offense. Coaches live for that balance. Teammates trust it. Opponents start peeking at the help early because they can feel a second burst coming, and that half look is enough to free a shooter 2 passes away. Now zoom out to the crowd. Home gyms have tells. You can tell when fans want blood versus when they want ball. That night, they wanted ball. They wanted proof that their team could take a hit and return a clean answer. When the ankles gave, the sound wasn't just volume, it was relief. A pressure valve turning. A whole building saying, we can win it our way. That energy changes everything. How shooters rise, how hands contest without fouling, how bigs carve out angles on the glass. Noise doesn't score, confidence does. But noise born from confidence, that's jet fuel. There's a word we don't use enough, stewardship. It's what veterans provide when highlights tempt you to forget the work. That's where Sophie's shadow matters most. You don't need a uniform to steady a locker room. You need a standard. The standard says we celebrate the craft, not the chaos. The standard says you shake a rival's hand and still make her life miserable for 40 minutes next time you see her. The standard says don't let one play turn you into something you're not. If Sophie is in the film room this week, even on crutches, she's circling details, not dancing on replays. Foot angle here, shoulder fake there, head discipline everywhere. Do it right again and again and again, until the moment picks you, not the other way around. Young hoopers always ask for secrets. Here's one they'll miss if you don't spell it out. After a big clip, the next 3 possessions are everything. That's where teams either chase the high and force junk or bottle it and squeeze the game. Indiana bottled it. They didn't sprint into hero shots. They flattened the floor, forced an extra rotation, and manufactured the cleanest look in the gym. That's how you turn one viral moment into a 6-elo run and a coach's timeout. Rinse, repeat. Great teams make you pay twice for one mistake. First on the play, then on your tilted emotions. Let's talk defense, because that's where maturity shows up when the camera looks away. The same patience Lexie used with the ball becomes discipline without it. Top foot outside, chest square, hands active but quiet. Shade to the help without opening a straight line. Contest late, land balanced, no cheap reach on the gather. When the Lynx tried to surge, Indiana didn't gift them free throws. They showed bodies, slid their feet, and trusted the next rotation. That kills rhythm. Shooters start short-arming makeable looks. Drivers pick up dribbles a half step early. You don't need a steal to win a possession. Sometimes you just need to turn a good shot into an average one. Identity also lives in the glass. Rebounds don't lie. Loose balls don't either. The Fever's front court played like grown-ups. 2 hands, elbows wide, chin it. Outlet with purpose. Guards crash selectively, not recklessly. 1 in, 2 back. That's how you stop opponent runs at the source. A single extra possession denied changes the math over a quarter. People love threes. Coaches love possessions. Win 3 extra possessions. Make your free throws. And you can beat anyone on a night where your jumper is merely decent. It's tempting to crown moments like this as destiny. The truth is better. It's a blueprint. The playoffs won't care about your clip. They'll care about your habits.